Hello, my lovely friends. Another video for you guys. I actually am redoing this video because the last time I recorded it, I was outside in nature, but I didn't like the way that the lighting looked. And now I got this cool light from that I'm borrowing from my friend. But for the time being, for the next couple videos or whenever you see this video, I'm gonna have sort of this janky setup because I'm sitting on my bed and I got my computer here and everything. So I want to talk about something really cool with you guys. And this is about an introduction to conspiracy. Ooh, conspiracy. Oh no. Don, are you one of those crazy conspiracy theorists? I'm gonna drink my smoothie too. And the answer is yes. But that's not been the case for it was a couple of years ago, until it was a couple of years ago. So I'll give you guys a little bit of a background on my story. When I was about 21, I was introduced to a very interesting man, and he's since passed away, unfortunately. And his name was Willie. And perhaps in a different video, I'll get more into the information about who Willie was. But Willie was a very special person, and he had access to a lot of top secret documents that I don't think he was supposed to have access to, and that's a pretty crazy story as to how he had access to those documents. But I don't want to, for the sake of privacy and stuff like that, well, I mean, he's passed away now, so there's not really anything to worry about. But when I was 21 and I was just understanding a lot of these things, I came across these documents, and I was really blown away with what I saw. I was pretty terrified, actually. And for many years, I didn't want to talk about what I saw in the documents because it was very unsettling. And in fact, in a lot of respects, I sort of feared for my life in a way, because I didn't know just to the extent of how dangerous those documents were to see. And it was at that point, when I was just about to graduate from my university, that I became very disillusioned with the world. Very disillusioned. I lost a lot of faith in almost everything. The government, healthcare system, science, history, just about everything. And it's pretty devastating when you first figure out that a lot of the things that you really put your faith and trust into are not really true. And I know that's hard for maybe some of our viewers to see, and I get it. I totally understand it. I was there too a number of years ago. But now I feel called to talk about it. I feel called to open up about some of the things that I read and some of the revelations that I've come to in my own personal journey. I'm not going to be getting into the documents, what I read, because I don't have access to them. They are in rural Tennessee, and I'm all the way down in Ecuador. And anyway, so what do I want to talk about with this video? I'm not necessarily going to talk about specifically things that have to do with conspiracy, because you could talk for months about that stuff and not really even cover it all off. It's really a rabbit hole. But what I want to do is I want to talk with our viewers about how you can talk about these kinds of things with people that just outright fully reject that these things actually exist, because unfortunately there's a lot of people that are like that, and there's a lot of people that really don't want to question the narrative, because questioning the narrative is very scary. And those of us that do question the narrative are often met with a lot of pushback, and it's very stressful. It's very upsetting. It's very disconcerting. You get a lot of people calling you crazy. I had a lot of people calling me crazy. I still have people calling me crazy. But it's okay, because I think people that want to talk about these things are doing this just completely, purely based out of love. Completely and purely based out of compassion and desire to help humanity in any way that they can. And when you come into it from that angle, it's very empowering because you almost feel like protected in a way, divinely protected to talk about these things. So this video is going to go over a couple things that you can do to start to kind of drip a little bit on people that are totally against anything and everything against questioning the mainstream narrative. And like my mother says, some pancakes can't be flipped. But those that can be flipped, try to flip it. Because what eventually is going to happen is that all this information is going to come out anyway. All this information is coming out anyway. It's mind-boggling. And people are going to find out whether they want to figure it out or not. And so those of you who are privy to what's going on need to be there to try to help them, show them a different perspective. Don't force anything on anybody. Don't be a crazy, raving lunatic, screaming and yelling and sending them tons and tons of information. I mean, I'm speaking from personal experience. Try to be compassionate and try to be understanding, because you have to know that what you're doing essentially is you are dismantling everything that they know to be true about their reality. It's hard. It's so difficult to say, oh my gosh, you mean to say that everything I knew to be true and real in my reality is just not? And that's so shocking. And eventually people are just going to figure that out whether they want to or not. So it's your job now to try to do it as gently and graciously as possible. And then when it all comes to light, you're going to have to be there to almost be their therapist in a way, because they're going to be like, what do I do? Oh my gosh, my whole reality is just totally shattered. I've had a lot of people come to me and be like, Don, my reality shattered. I'm not saying I have the answers, but I'm saying that what I've been able to do is I've been able to find peace after my reality was shattered. And there's ways to heal from that in a way. There's that macrocosmic disillusionment. So now there's a couple questions that are good to ask people that like laugh at you or outright reject what you say. One of the best questions to ask people I've found is to just simply appeal to the idea of human nature. And this is a tried and true cliche that says birds of a feather flock together, right? So if you like football, naturally you're going to gravitate towards other people that like football. If you are somebody that likes to invest and start businesses, naturally you're going to want to surround yourself with entrepreneurial people. It just makes sense. We want to hang out with people that are like-minded and that do the similar behaviors. So think about it this way. If you're a very, very wealthy person, you have a lot of power, you have a lot of assets and a lot of influence, don't you think that you're going to seek out other powerful, wealthy people that have power and influence as well? Well, of course. That's just naturally human nature. You don't see a billionaire sitting on the slums of India yucking it up with some dude, on the street. I mean, unless you're a super altruistic person, but no, you just don't do that. Like, people that are very powerful don't surround themselves with people that are like that. So naturally, don't you think that somebody that is powerful and wealthy is going to try to take their wealth and try to take their power and influence policy and influence laws to benefit themselves? I mean, I know if I had billions and billions of dollars, that's what I would do to try to protect my assets and my family in the best way that I could. I mean, it's only natural. We do that anyway with the resources that we have. Imagine if you had more resources. You'd do everything you can to protect yourself. That's just a natural human response. And if you have money and assets and power, naturally you're going to be able to galvanize more laws and policies so that you can protect yourself. That's just the way it works. And this is how they do those things. So to say that they don't do those things, to say that wealthy people don't congregate with one another and don't try to influence policy in any way, shape, or form to protect their assets, that would be foolish, because it's obvious that they do those things. So think of it that way. Like, do powerful people meet together and discuss plans to protect themselves and their assets? Well, yes, of course. Of course they do. Think of country clubs. I mean, what are those things? I mean, yeah, sure, they're places to play golf, but It's primarily a place to go network. I mean, why do people go to Harvard? Why do people go to Yale? I mean, it's not really to get the degree. It's because your roommate is the cousin of royalty, you know? And it's really to get the network. It's really to meet those kinds of people, to rub shoulders with the people that are really the movers and shakers of the world. Now, I'm not saying that this is a bad thing. I'm not saying that you shouldn't do this, and I'm not accusing them of being evil. I'm just saying that it's a natural human instinct to want to surround yourself with those kinds of people that are like you and that can benefit you in some way, shape, or form, right? So another thing that could be helpful for you guys that are just getting started is the plethora of information that's coming out with documentaries that are coming out. I mean, my goodness, there's so many things you can watch on YouTube. You have WikiLeaks, you have all of these things, and you could just say, hey, like, this is not some crazy dude sitting in a basement drumming up all this crap. These are real documents that have been released from people. This is really happening. So this is insightful, good information for you to figure out. So you can send resources to them on that so that you're not the one that's specifically trying to defend yourself. You let the documents speak for yourself. So another thing that a lot of people say that is really important to keep in mind is that people will say that these people will never do these things. Like, oh, they would never do something untoward towards another person. This person would never do that. Well, what they're actually saying is you would never do that. What you're doing, or what they're doing, is they are superimposing their belief on the world upon other people. So I would never kill somebody, but there's people that go kill each other every day, all the time. Out in the inner cities, out in war. I would never do that. But that doesn't mean other people won't do that. And the sad fact is that there are psychopathic people. There is a very small number of people that do have psychopathy. And the nature of psychopathic people is that they seek power. They seek power because they don't have a problem with stepping on other people's toes. They are actually mentally sick. They don't feel emotions. They don't feel empathy. And that's actually really sad. So a lot of these people are actually brain damaged. If you look at their neocortex in their heads through a CAT scan, you'll see that there's gray matter missing in their brain, and gray matter is responsible for higher order thinking. So psychopathic people have a naturally lower level of gray matter in their brains, which is sad. And one last point that's important to mention when you are trying to talk about these things with other people, and this is probably the most important thing to keep in mind, is this idea of compartmentalization. So I've heard this a lot of times, is, oh, you mean to say that all these people are just in on this big conspiracy and they're all just lying to us? Well, no. There's actually a very small number of people, and the information that's compartmentalized is fiercely defended. So let me ask you a very practical and real question that you can propose to people that give you this answer. Do you know what your boss does on a day-to-day basis? Well, unless you work with him directly or her directly. No, of course not. You don't know what they're doing. Do you know what your floor manager does that's higher up? Well, unless you spend a day regularly with them, you probably don't know what they do. Do you know what your regional manager does? Well, they're probably not even in the same building as you. You've never even talked to them. So naturally, you have no idea what they're doing. Do you know what the stakeholders and the shareholders and the CEO and the CFO and all the executives do in the board meetings? Do you know what they talk about on a day-to-day basis? Do you know what their grand plans are? Well, unless you read some of the memos or you listen to what they say, no, you really have no idea what they're doing. You really have no idea what their plans are. So this is not to suggest that every single corporation is just this big nefarious thing. I'm just giving an example. So the idea of this compartmentalization is that the floor managers don't know what the regional managers are. The regional managers don't know what the executives do. So it's this idea of really the only people that know what are going on are the people that are at the top. Now, I mean, this is just on a corporate level. Imagine on global levels. Do you know what happens in the WHO? Do you know what happens in the IMF? Do you know what happens in the World Bank? I highly doubt that you know what's going on a day-to-day basis. I highly doubt you have access to the memos. I highly doubt you know what they're talking about behind closed doors. So what makes you think that they might not be doing things that are trying to benefit their own personal interest? So that's a great way to try to dispel what people are saying. Is you mean to say that there's people that are in on this big grand, like thousands of people that are in on this grand conspiracy? No, there's only a very small number of people that are telling the people that are below them just what they need to know to get their jobs done. Because I guarantee you, if you were working for a company and the managers that were actually running the place were doing something nefarious, you would stop immediately. You would say, I couldn't be part of this. I don't want to be part of this at all. And you would leave. So they don't tell you what their plans are. They tell you exactly what your job is to do. And you get your paycheck and you go home and you watch football and you hang out with your kids and you live your life. And you don't even really question what you're doing because you don't know what's actually going on. You're just a piece of the puzzle in the grand scheme of things. And there's nothing wrong with this. I'm just saying that this is the nature of what happens. This is the nature of how most businesses run, is that they don't tell you exactly what's going on. So how could you really know what you're being a part of? So these are just some things that you could talk with about people when they want to challenge what you say or challenge your idea of questioning the mainstream narrative. And so I hope that was beneficial and helpful for you. And I want to end off every video with, you have infinite self-worth. I got the shirts, the t-shirts that I made. The link will be in the description below if you want to support the cause. 10% of all the proceeds go to helping with plant-based medicine to help cure mental diseases such as depression and anxiety and PTSD, because there's amazing research coming out and we want to help heal the masses as best as we can. So thank you guys for coming on here, and I hope that this is powerful. I love you guys so much. We're here to change the world. So much love and peace to everybody. Thank you.